Well, I mean, nerves are a crazy thing, right? So when you're on the 72nd hole on the precipice of winning your first major championship, your body feels completely different than it ever normally would have. And I've always said about nerves, like if you harness your nerves in the right way, you're capable of doing things extraordinarily well. If nerves overtake you in a negative way, then you are capable of doing things extraordinarily poor that you wouldn't normally do. So
How is it like when you're living on the road at that time? How are the conversations with you and your wife? You're newly married and you're in this big rookie year, you're crushing it, and then you go from high to low. How is your relationship at that time?
I think she knows me so well. She knew when to avoid me and when to engage. And
Yeah.
I do think I was pretty hard to deal with because, like pre-kids, golf was my life. Everything I did revolved around it. So I was so singularly minded that there was nothing other than that. And I think that was part of the problem, was that everything was focused on one thing and not anything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'd say one more question around the golf for those of us out here who are low handicappers or scratch golfers who might see someone on TV hit a poor shot and say, "Man, Mito Pereira, I can't believe you hit it on the 72nd hole in the water on the right at the PGA Championship last year. How'd you do that? I mean, I would have hit it on the left." I mean, what do you say to the people at the armchair quarterback who are saying, "Man, they're just I can do that." Anything that we don't know that you could tell us from the tour life?
Well, I mean, nerves are a crazy thing, right? So when
Yeah.
you're on the 72nd hole on the precipice of winning your first major championship, your body feels completely different than it ever normally would have. And I've always said about nerves, like if you harness your nerves in the right way, you're capable of doing things extraordinarily well. If nerves overtake you in a negative way, then you are capable of doing things extraordinarily poor that you wouldn't normally do. So I think for Mito, that one specific thing, I think the nerves just took over. His hands got tight and he went right. Like until it's easy to second guess people's decisions, but until you are put in that position and feel what your body feels like in its most raw environment, like, and he handled it beautifully that entire day, but it just one moment and then it just, it's a lapse in mental focus. Nerves are a funny thing.
Yeah. When can you take us to a time when you felt them like the most, if that connects?
For the most positive way, yes. I was it was 2015, the Shell Houston Open. I was my dad was in the hospital with, he had just had a lung removed, or part of his lung removed, and I had visited him earlier in that week and then flown back out to Houston, and I was on a one track mind. And I knew I needed, a guy had posted on Sunday a score, and I needed to birdie 17 or 18, which were the two hardest holes on that golf course. Missed 17 in a bunker, almost holed it out, made the 10-footer, and I get to 18, hardest hole on the golf course, one of the hardest holes on the PGA Tour. I rip it down the middle. I hit a 4-iron to 20 feet, and I knew there was no other place that ball was going other than the hole. I buried it, fist pumped. It was like I just willed it to happen. I ended up losing on the second hole of that playoff, but I had complete command over my mind and my body in a high stress situation. And now on the negative side, there's been plenty of times when I go into the last hole on a Friday, I've got to make the cut. All I need to do is make a par. And I get so overcome by nerves. I get it up there around the green, chip it to 6 feet, and just completely miss the putt. And so there's just, it's harnessing what makes you great is something I think a lot of athletes, especially golfers, they strive for their whole lives, is being able, okay, how did I do that one time, and how can I make that happen regularly?
Yeah. Yeah. After your first win on tour, what was it like your first couple times playing Augusta number 12? What was going through your mind when you got there the first couple times?
I mean, when I won in Houston the week before the Masters, so flew straight to Augusta, was playing a practice round early Monday morning, and I was just that whole week cloud nine, pinching myself, couldn't believe I was there. 12, and a friend who had played the Masters a bunch, and I played some practice rounds with Sergio Garcia that week. And when you get on 12, there's only one thing to do. You hit it over the center of the bunker, no matter where the pin is. You do not go flag hunting. If you push or pull and it happens to get close, fine. But your goal is to hit it right over the middle of the bunker, into the center of the green, 2-putt for par, and move on.